My name is Rajiv Nagaich. I'm an elder law attorney out of Seattle, Washington. I've been practicing elder law for about a decade now, graduated from law school in 2002. And as you'll find out, I'm quite passionate about this area because it is a personal journey that got me to the point where I left a previous career and went into elder law. And I would welcome anyone who is practicing law to look at elder law because it truly is a very gratifying area to practice law. So if you're thinking about starting your own elder law practice, or perhaps you're thinking about working in an elder law firm, today what I want to do is to just talk to you about what elder law really is all about. When you think about it, law and elders are not something that is new. The seniors, the retirees, have looked to the legal solutions for a long time. When you think about what the traditional solutions are, they tend to be pretty standard. We talk about wills and trusts, powers of attorney, and living wills. Why? Because think about your own law school experience. What were we taught when we were dealing with seniors? We were taught to talk to them about planning around the issue of who gets what when they pass away, who manages their financial or healthcare affairs if they couldn't do so themselves, and finally, whether they wanted a feeding tube if they were in a coma. Now, those are important issues, no doubt, but probably there are a few other issues that are more important to most seniors. What are those? Well, just ask them. Ask any senior who is retired, what concerns you about retirement? What kind of issues do you concern yourself with? And you'll probably hear the following. I don't want to be institutionalized or put into a nursing home setting. I don't want to die broke, paying for obscene amounts of nursing home costs, taxes, probate costs, whatever. And certainly I don't want to become a burden on my loved one and my children if incapacity strikes me. So if those are the issues seniors are talking about, and the legal profession actually is offering who gets what when you die, who manages your affairs if you couldn't do so yourself, and do you want a feeding tube if you're in a coma, you clearly know there is some sort of a disconnect. And if there is this disconnect, elder law is that specialty that basically recognizes these issues and says, well, we need to fix that. So how do you go about fixing that, and what really is elder law, and how is it different than estate planning? Well, let me walk you through the life of a real person who you would be applying elder law principles with. And I want you to meet a couple called Bill and Vivian Wallace. So who are these people? Well, these are your quintessential middle-class Americans. They're not extremely wealthy. They've worked hard all their lives. They've created some nest egg and wealth with some specific goals in mind. So let's walk through their journey a step at a time. Bill and Vivian are born in rural Washington state. They meet in a city called Spokane. They get married. Bill had worked for the US Air Force till he got a medical discharge, and Vivian was a registered nurse. So after getting married and after Bill's discharge from the Air Force, they decide to start their life in Alaska. Vivian becomes a registered nurse in a one doctor, one nurse hospital, and Bill becomes a fisherman. They have 2 of the 5 children who are born there, and then after that they move back to Spokane to raise their family. But after the youngest of the 5 children goes to college, Bill and Vivian, probably like most of the clients that you're going to be helping, they look at each other and say, well, what is retirement going to be? And to them, retirement was supposed to be a time of joy where they would get into the RV and go do the American highways and the byways, spend time with their children and grandchildren, and do all sorts of things that we think about doing. But how do you accomplish that? Well, their goal was quite simple. And quite simple because it is the same goal majority of middle-class Americans have. Have a house that's paid for. Have a few $100,000 sitting in the bank account or in some savings account. Then surely between Social Security, Medicare, your savings, a house that's paid for, your retirement should be okay. And with that, they paid off the house and they accomplished the goals they set out. The last year of Bill's work life, something unexpected happens to him. He gets diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Once he gets diagnosed with Alzheimer's, This is, of course, in the 1980s, in the mid-1980s, where Alzheimer's was not nearly as well controlled or well known as it is today. Vivian and Bill, they become a little afraid. Don't know what the future is going to be. They certainly know that they're in for some sort of a ride. The RV never leaves the house. Bill and Vivian now become housebound. Vivian, of course, as his wife, as Bill's wife, resolves herself that as a registered nurse, she will make sure that Bill never has to see the inside of a nursing home. Well, they fight this battle for about 5 or 6 years without sharing any of this information with any of their children. And why would you do that? Well, what can the kids do? They can't really change the reality that dad is dealing with Alzheimer's, and why burden them? Well, it gets to a point in Bill's life where the disease has now progressed to a point where he, on many occasions, is looking at Vivian and not finding his wife there. He looks at her and says, "Who are you? And where is my wife?" And now Vivian understands that this is going to take more than her dedication to Bill to keep him at home. So she reaches out to the children. The kids all converge, and they hatch a plan. And the plan that is hatched is, Mom, you cannot take care of 5 acres of land and Dad at the same time. You have to downsize. So they downsize, they move to a smaller house. And this was supposed to be the perfect plan with one fatal flaw. And the flaw was that Bill, who is not recognizing his wife on many days, is certainly dealing with a house that is not his house. And he starts doing what people with dementia do, which is he starts wandering. And when he starts to wander, Vivian, who is trying to keep up with him, she can't, because Bill is very physically fit, and there is nothing other than the fact that he has dementia. There's nothing else that is wrong with him. So Vivian then calls 911, and the cops actually tell Vivian, "Mrs. Wallace, you need to do something about this. At the end of the day, we are not a cab company." And so she then turns to the doctor, who convinces her that, "Vivian, you're a nurse. You know there is no real answer to this issue. Bill needs help, and that help is provided for in a nursing home setting." And so the next thing you know, Bill moves into a nursing home. Now, the first time that I got to meet this man was when he was in the nursing home. And who I'm really talking about here are my in-laws. And when I had met my wife and I'd asked her to marry me, and she said yes, and I was totally taken aback and surprised, we went back to see her side of the family. And on the way back, she had said that she wanted to stop and see her dad. And so we stopped by the nursing home, and you almost have to kind of imagine this thing or picture this thing from the shoes of somebody who was not born here. A majority of foreigners who come to America, they come for one reason only. Why? Because the streets of America are paved with gold. And if this is the fairyland, and that's the picture that you have of America, and you walk into the nursing home, if the smell of the place is not bad enough to knock you over a few times, you're asking yourself, how does the richest country in the whole wide world take care of its old people when they can no longer care for themselves? And the reason why a person like me would find that to be a pretty normal question to ask is because I saw my own grandparents, all of them, all four of them, take their last breath sleeping on the same pillow they always had, invariably surrounded by their loved ones. And so the question is, well, what's wrong with this picture? That's the third world, and this is the first world? So that is the journey that took me back to law school, because we looked for attorneys at that time. I was working for all state insurance companies as a sales manager, and I knew there had to be answers, particularly when you had laws even insurance agents were educated about, which were called the estate tax laws. You have too much money and you die without planning, Uncle Sam becomes the beneficiary of part of your money. Go see an attorney. They'll do some legal hocus pocus, and you will eliminate or at least minimize the incidence of estate taxes. But what is the equivalent to that for middle America? There was none. We looked for attorneys trying to help us with this, found none. And that took me back to law school. And the ending of this story is that the day that I took my last final exam is the day Bill took his last breath in the nursing home. By second year law school, I knew there was something I could have done to help him. There's no reason why he should be in the nursing home. All that money that they had, the house paid for, and the few $100,000, by the way, that was all gone. After getting married, we had asked Vivian to move in with us, and we had moved Bill from Eastern Washington to Seattle, Washington, where Vivian lived with us, and Bill moved into a nursing home. By the time Vivian had moved in with us, all the assets that they had, their nest egg, that had been depleted. And so Bill was already on Medicaid by that time, and life was not fun. By second year law school, we knew there's no reason why Bill had to be in the nursing home. He could be at home, and with a very Indian cultural thing, I wanted to bring him back home, but we never could. He took his last breath the day I took my last final exam. Vivian lived with us for another 5 years after the fact, and she died of kidney cancer that had metastasized to the bones. When I look back at her life, there is no reason in the world that unless I had been an elder law attorney, understanding this journey, there is no reason why she should not have spent between 6 months to a year inside of a nursing home because of her physical condition. But she never had to go to a nursing home, and interestingly, she never had to be on Medicaid. So that's the journey an elder law attorney takes. And that's not the only reason why elder law attorneys exist, because money alone, this is not an issue where people can just have a lack of money, a small to mid-sized estates, and they will deal with Medicare, Medicaid, or long-term issues. I mean, meet Astor Brooke, or Brooke Astor. She is a billionaire from New York who spends the last year and a half of her life inside of a nursing home setting. Money alone cannot guarantee people a good quality of life. And so that's what brings me to elder law. So what is elder law at the end of the day? Well, when you compare what people are wanting to have addressed in their later lives, I don't want to be institutionalized, don't want to go broke paying for high long-term care and unreimbursed costs, and I don't want to be a burden on our children. You find the traditional retirement solutions or the legal solutions simply don't match up. So what is it? Well, take a look at the definition that NAELA had at one time put on the website. And I've kind of hung on to that because it really says it all. NAELA's definition of elder law is that it is a holistic approach. The elder law practitioner handles general estate planning issues and counsels clients about planning for incapacity with alternative decision-making documents. The attorney would also assist the client in planning for possible long-term care needs, including nursing home care, locating the appropriate types of care, coordinating private and public resources to finance the cost of care, and working to ensure that clients' right to quality care are all part of the elder law practice. And when you break it down, it is general estate planning, assisting in planning for long-term care needs, including nursing home care needs, locating the appropriate type of care, coordinating private and public resources, and ensuring the client's right to quality care. That's what elder law is. So how does that really play out in the life, the day-to-day life of an elder law practitioner? Well, when you take a look at that, when you take a look at how you're going to be able to help people navigate retirement successfully, there's several things that come to mind. Well, first of all, for people to be successful in retirement, good health is a must. I mean, the big wish and hope most people have is that I just go to sleep one day and just not wake up when I'm 99 years of age and I have no more than a penny in my bank. And yeah, I mean, you will hear this from a lot of people as well. So good health is very important. The second piece of the whole thing is people are hoping never to be institutionalized. And the question there is, can it be that an elder law attorney can do things to help them not be institutionalized? And the answer is, a skilled elder law attorney will absolutely be able to do a lot to make sure that people have a running chance of avoiding institutional care if it at all can be avoided. And you'll hear more about that in the estate planning part of this education series. Because through estate planning, you can make provisions that can make that happen. The third aspect of retirement is having enough assets and being able to protect those assets so you don't have to worry about going broke. not in retirement, because likely you don't want a second or a third job in retirement. So what does that look like? Well, look at it this way. The biggest reason why people used to go seek attorney help was because of estate taxes. And this is in the estate planning context. Well, today, with a $5 million exemption limit at the federal level, many states not having state estate taxes, most people in America will not need to worry about estate taxes. But where the cost of nursing care is anywhere between $300 to $400 per day plus, majority of us who are going to look to retirement are going to need to worry about this issue. Indeed, if you look at the Alzheimer's Association and the research that they publish, they say that 1 out of 8 people over the age of 65 and approximately half of the people over the age of 85 will be dealing with a dementia-related illness which will render them unable to take care of their own needs. And what that essentially then means is you will need to worry about uncovered medical expenses, which can be huge. And so that's the financial angle. And from a legal perspective, you can do a lot to help people not become a burden on their children by not only preparing the documents like powers of attorney, by putting guidance there on how the fiduciary, the surrogate, if you will, whoever is appointed to handle the finances and the healthcare, that they have some help. They can use the assets to access qualified help. So a good elder law attorney will take a look at all 4 of these boxes and recognize that whoever the professional is working with this client must also recognize that this client has a goal of avoiding institutional care, protecting assets, and not going broke, paying for obscene amounts of uncovered medical costs, and not becoming a burden on the children. And to that end, we must consolidate and cooperate with each other and make sure that we can work with each other and not do some planning that will get in the way of the other person's planning. For example, you want to be able to communicate with your client's financial planner so they do not inadvertently sell the client an immediate annuity, something that will not bode well for asset preservation planning purposes with you as a lawyer. So these lines that you have connecting all these 4 professions, that becomes quite important, and all of the professions for the client must be focused on the client's goal, whatever that goal is going to be. And the goal at the minimum must be avoiding institutional care, protecting assets, and not becoming a burden. So what are the services that an elder law attorney can offer to help a client accomplish all of this? Well, there are 2 types of planning services you can offer. There is absolutely no limit to how you can approach this. But break down the services into 2 different types of services. One is pre-planning. Elder law attorneys routinely help people pre-plan so that before they get into a crisis situation, they have taken the steps which will eventually help them avoid institutional care, not become a burden on the children, and protect their assets. The second part where elder law attorneys will help people is when somebody already is about to go to the nursing home. The diagnosis of Alzheimer's has already been rendered, and now we need to deal with the aftermath. Or somebody has had a stroke and they're already in the hospital and they're about to be discharged to a long-term care community, and we need to protect assets and do all the other things. Now, in addition to all of this, there are several other areas that an elder law attorney can help with. And I'll just name the more common things that elder law attorneys seem to do. Probate and estate administration, guardianship work, Medicare, Medicaid, VA, Social Security. These are all specialized fields. Not too many people who really understand them very well. And finally, litigation. There is a lot of litigation that needs to be done, that has been done. It can be a litigation against the state or the federal agencies that actually administer all these programs. It could be litigation in the context of family law or property law, because you have some elder client you're serving, preserving their assets, and there's some aspect that really doesn't fit quite the mold. So what kind of a practice, how do you differentiate yourself from estate planning? Well, the sad reality I'll tell you is this. that many people many consumers who are looking for the elder law solutions look to estate planning attorneys who understand just enough about Medicare and Medicaid to say, I am an elder law attorney. But the fact and the truth is that simply understanding the basic principles about Medicare and Medicaid do not make you an elder law attorney. And you have to set out your goals. The goals that an elder law attorney will address are significantly different than the goals that an estate planning attorney will address. And really, it is all about the resources that the elder law attorney will bring to the table to make sure that the goals actually come true. And what are the goals we're talking about? It's not about who gets what when you die, not about who is going to manage your affairs if you were unable to manage your own affairs yourself, or do you want a feeding tube? That's estate planning, traditional estate planning. An elder law attorney is going to deal with the other issues, not going broke, not being institutionalized, not becoming a burden. And in so doing, recognize that an elder law attorney will necessarily need to reach out to the healthcare community, the housing community, the financial community. And it is that resource building which is the difference between elder law and estate planning. But it is an exciting area if you really set your mind to providing it. So what does it take to go ahead and start a good elder law practice? Well, for one, education. You need to know something about all the different areas that we've talked about. Medicare, Medicaid, VA, Social Security. This in addition to all the things you need to know about basic estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, living wills. All those documents that need to be prepared for people, you still need to know something about that. Tax law, that's a huge issue. So how do you go about training people? And this is the good part about NAELA. I mean, NAELA is absolutely committed to making sure that you have the basic information available at your fingertips so you can download it. If you're hiring a staff in your office, if you're a staff person starting in an elder law office, you should be able to go through this education series at your convenience on your time schedule. And you will have that available to you. NAELA will make a marketing toolkit available to you, an education toolkit available to you. And then you have state and local programs NAELA is going to offer. You can go to these programs, and if you go to these programs for 5 or 6 years, you will become probably the preeminent elder law attorney in your community, because you will be rubbing shoulders with the nationally known elder law attorneys in these national and local meetings that NAELA puts up. Publications, and there's educational archives with NAELA, a lot of education opportunity. But let's face it, education alone is not going to help you become successful in an elder law practice. You will need to actually earn money, and that's marketing. And so NAELA also has a marketing toolkit that it makes available to you. It provides brochures, turnkey brochures. You never have to worry about doing anything other than personalizing and put your name, address, and phone number, and that becomes your brochure. PowerPoint presentations that you take to the community, press releases that you can send out to newspapers. Those are all part of what NAELA is trying to do to help you become an elder law attorney. But at the end of the day, the choice is going to be yours. You will need to make a decision. Is the elder law for you or not? And to me, the reason why most people who get into elder law find it rewarding is because it has many, many different wonderful aspects to it. Good hours, or I should say family-friendly hours. You don't have to work insane hours if what you want to do is transactional practice or pre-crisis and crisis planning alone. If that's all that you want to do, you can control your hours. It is financially very rewarding for some of us for whom it is important that we make a decent living. This can be a pretty lucrative area. Now, I will make no bones about that. I don't think you will ever be able to make the type of money you can make as a personal injury lawyer. But short of that, you can make a very good living doing elder law. And spiritually, it is extremely rewarding. And where else will you go where people routinely come in and send you thank you cards and cookies and chocolates and flowers to your office just because of what you've done, particularly if you're helping them during a crisis period. So that's what elder law is all about. The rest of the sessions that you will go through will be more substantive information. We certainly hope that you will seriously give elder law a good thought. If you have any questions, you can reach out to NAELA, or you can reach out to any NAELA member. And NAELA, how do you reach them? NAELA.org. Thank you for letting me talk to you about elder law. I hope to see you in some national or local event.